Right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome all to yet another Ask Me Anything with the Wolves of Alt Street. My name is Nexus. I will be your host for today, and we are joined by CryptoGene, which is a very interesting NFT DNA themed project that has gamified elements and purports to have living NFTs that will develop memories as you mess with them. As always, I want to begin by saying that nothing that you are going to hear on this program is to be construed as financial advice, and everything that you are going to hear represents merely the opinions of myself, the host, and the speakers themselves, and not necessarily the opinions of the entirety of Team CryptoGene or the opinions of the Wolves of Alt Street. And with that said, thank you all so very much for joining us. To start us out, I would appreciate it if you guys could tell us about yourselves and anything you'd like the community to know to help us all get to know your team.
Awesome. Thank you for having us. Evan, would you like to kick it off with an intro?
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Evan. I'm the COO of Sortium. I am, a developer by trade. I've been in software engineering the past 20 years. My team is responsible for before Sortium, my team was responsible for building apps like Blockfolio, the strong block front-end protocol for nodes as a service. We've worked directly as main vendors for blockchains like Avalanche and Flow, EOS, Wax, BCH, and other chains as well.
Wow.
We've been in the space since probably early 2013 or earlier. We made a conscious decision that blockchain was the future when it was taboo, and we just jumped in both feet, and then it became kind of niche and then really mainstream. And by the time it went mainstream, we were building the platform, the Topps NFT platform with Mark here. Kind of did some world firsts there. And that's where I ended up meeting Mark. And we were just very in line together with, vision and forward thinking. And, we decided to kind of do something together. And here we are.
All right, you guys have a big speaking team here. Anyone else want to give an intro on themselves and how they got into the space?
I'll quickly hop in as I manage community, and so I'll just keep it really brief. But we have a absolutely flourishing and thriving community over in CryptoGene. We're nearing 50% actives compared to totals, and everybody is loving what we have going on. My background is VC banking, innovation, cloud, startup, accelerators, program management, all sorts of stuff, along with founding a few crypto projects. So what I do is help keep the community transparent and knowledgeable about what we have going on, and making sure that all of the genius that comes out of Evan and Mark's brain is communicated properly to the community, and that we're all on the same page. So that's a little bit about me. And if you need to find me, I'm the same name in the CryptoGene community. So feel free to holler.
Cool.
Hey there, I'm Juliet. Thanks, Nick. And I am the head of marketing for Sortium, which makes CryptoGene. My background is obviously 20 plus years in marketing, but I've been in the crypto space for, I want to say 4 years now. And really excited to be a part of the CryptoGene team and help kind of support all of the thought leadership and the branding and everything that's happening from kind of the organizational standpoint. So let me toss it over to Mark to give an introduction, but I'm excited to be here today.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Seal. I'm the CEO of Sortium. I've been working in the field for I'd say quite a bit. I mean, I was an early enthusiast of Ethereum, involved in some of the projects there. Had developed a game way back with the Dogecoin founders, and then transitioned into entertainment space a little more with larger brands, working with Lucasfilm and Disney. Ended up doing the NFT platform along with Evan here for the Topps company. introduced Major League Baseball, Bundesliga, UEFA, Godzilla, all to the NFT space.
Wait,
and
hold on a sec. That was you? You introduced all of that intellectual property into the space?
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, please continue.
Yes. So under the Topps licensing brand, and working with if anyone who's familiar with like Michael Eisner, who was the previous CEO of Disney.
Yeah.
We leveraged the Topps brand and the relationship. So I worked with Evan and his team to build that Topps NFT platform, which is built on the Avalanche chain. But I also introduced like anyone who maybe is a fan of Wax and was familiar with the early Garbage Pail Kids releases. That was also myself. And then their Major League Baseball Series 1 on Wax, and then building the new platform. I also strategize NFT plans for Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company for those brands, and Pixar and a few others.
Wow. That's quite a portfolio.
Then we decided we wanted to do our own thing. We wanted to take the experience that we had collectively from the gaming industry, from entertainment, from blockchain technology, and then Evan, myself, and our other co-founder, Alex, who is
he's in the chat. If we can pull him up on stage.
Oh.
Rosgo is a participant. He's our CTO. If we could pull Rosgo up, that would be great.
Rosgo, can you raise your hand? That might help find him.
Yes, I think I see him. I'll go ahead and send the user an invite to speak.
Perfect. He rose his hand.
All right, so yeah, that should invite Rosgo up on the stage. That's awesome.
Rosgo, you should see somewhere, whether you're on mobile or web, either in the buttons where you would mute yourself to join, or potentially up top.
Hey,
Rosgo.
Welcome, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
So I'll let Rosgo introduce himself, but he is our CTO and resident tech genius with a background in Lucasfilm and stuff as well. But to wrap up, the three of us came together. I had actually developed the IP for CryptoGene all the way back in 2011. And we were looking for a product that we could build, and I had the IP for CryptoGene. Some story was established already, some assets were done. And it was just a really good fit to be redesigned and meshed in with blockchain technology, NFT technology, which we'll get into, I'm sure, during this AMA, about how we execute on-chain DNA and artificial intelligence, which is much of the reason I wanted backup here from Rosgo. So welcome and thank you. But yeah, that's me, and I'll let Rosgo go ahead and introduce him and his background.
Please.
Ooh. Yeah, I feel like I just woke up from writing code, so it's just getting out of Zen mode. Awesome. Yeah, so my background is systems engineering with focused on physics, simulations, and math. I worked on the game industry for years. Worked at LucasArts, Lucasfilms, special effects, and part of my contribution to lots of IPs and movies and games was doing simulations and doing physics simulations, all kinds of simulations, but physics the most. And that got me into robotics and AI, autonomous vehicles, and one thing led to another, and this took me to lots of challenges in distributed networking and all challenges of getting different robots and agents working on adversarial environments. I also worked in DARPA, solving these exact same things, training robots and simulations in adversarial environments. And I don't have proof, but I like to say that I was one of the first that put blockchain on robots and specifically substrate.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I imagine that DARPA's non-disclosures are pretty thick. So I doubt there's much he can say. If anyone asks questions about, hey, Rosgo, tell us about your time at DARPA. I'm pretty sure that he won't be able to tell you much.
Right. So if you go search for a few projects like AFWorks and SCOALI and different branches like that from DARPA, and you read what they were doing based on multi-agent robotics, that was probably me part of that work. So that's as far as I can go with that.
Wow. Okay, I have kind of a non sequitur to sort of kick us off here, but I wanted to ask who among you have heard of the old Relic Entertainment real-time strategy game Impossible Creatures?
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah, I played that as a youth, and I'm reminded of it when I look at your project information. In a good way, mind you. Okay. Well, I guess to kick us off, to really start digging into CryptoGene, I want you guys to try to, in the simplest way possible, to describe the play-to-earn pipeline for a new player starting the game who seeks to inevitably cash out using Ethereum.
Great. So I'll lay the groundwork of thought process here, and then Roscoe and Evan can certainly dive deeper into the technicals. But I'll speak a little bit to our mission on play to earn. I think play to earn is in a space right now where it's becoming synonymous with expensive to play and expensive to earn. A lot of play to earn games have a large barrier to entry, and that's one of the problems that we're looking to solve with CryptoGene today. So the way that the user journey would work for somebody, and we are going to have an early access in which it's required that you have some token, but I'll address that in just a moment.
Gotcha.
The way that the user journey will work when the game is in its phase 2, targeted sometime, I think early Q2, is a user could come in if they have put token up front, which would be our CGN token, which is the governance token for the DAO. Then today they would get, if the game is live today, they would get an earning of DNA token, which they would use as a utility to generate creatures, to perform tasks, and so on. You can also earn this by playing. Now, if you're not fortunate enough to have the financial resources to jump into the game or buy your way in, quote unquote, you will be able to do any number of delegated tasks or user quests. So a wealthier player can generate user quests that other players can come in and perform for them. It may be taking care of their Kymera and generating resources, which they then get a fee from. Or it could be training Kymera for battle later this year when that's live. There will be several different tasks from maintenance to care and so on that users will be able to delegate down to other users. So that's how we address coming in. And then as far as an off-ramp for users, there's a DEX pairing that will be live at launch where you could go on and liquidate into Ethereum should you choose, or purchase more CGN if you wanted.
Okay.
To kind of touch on the delegation, we're looking to try to set it up to be as automated as possible and have like an automated, decentralized Dutch auction like type user quest generation, so that the people that have a lot to take care of, don't have a lot of time to probably set up those user quests. So we want to make it where it's more of an automated process for people with larger amounts of CGN or Kymera to create those quests for new users to come in and Dutch auction style accept to take on.
Okay. Did anyone else have any other comments on the play to earn pipeline? Just real quick.
Oscar, do you have anything?
I could just add very quickly the simulation aspect of it, which it's just not, it's just not calling contract functions, and there's actual real simulation going on, and every action of the game and the players is going through a real economic simulation machine.
Okay. Interesting. All right. You mentioned battles that are planned. I realize that the feature isn't live, and it's in development, so changes are always going to be occurring. But I'm just curious: is the battle going to be a player-oriented thing, or is that also going to be automated?
The current goal is for it to be a mix. You will train
Okay.
your creature, and based on the creature's AI, it'll be able to learn from you and the experiences that it has. And then you will set up a battle. And much like what Pokemon the show demonstrates, where a trainer or user is assisting their Pokemon, or in this case their Kymera, in battle, you'll be able to call out commands and strategically support. That is the goal. Is that these are partnerships between you and your Kymera. They're not puppets for you to control. They're partners for you to interact and work with. And it will be the same experience both in training and raising them as it would be in the battle experience, which we are working on a real-time combat system to achieve that.
Okay. And the training and the lifestyle stuff, is this going to be like Tamagotchi where it can die?
Evan coined this, but I'm going to steal it from him. He says, "With life, there must be death." So
your NFT then, your Chimera can be killed, or you can allow it to perish.
Correct. There might
Yes.
be unforeseen circumstances. We want to encourage that there is safety, but also that there is risk. And whether that's, we haven't really determined, how we want to announce that. We have options and ways that we want to creatively kind of keep the population. Like, with the problem with Axie is there's just always new Axie. So like that's a big gripe that we hear, and so we want to do things a little bit differently. And so we want to have the deflationary mechanic in the gameplay, and have it be part of the experience. Like, it's not just going to be like, oh, your Chimera died. It's got to be something where it's part of the experience.
So the death of your Chimera would be essentially part of a longer narrative in that sense.
Exactly.
Okay. So CGN is the DAO's governance token and DNA is the in-game currency. Do I have that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, although I will say CGN, while it is a governance token, is also utilized in-game. You turn on equipment, you'll kind of activate things in your lab through staking your CGN. And again, we will have delegated ways for users without CGN to partake in similar functions. But CGN is not just an external governance token for a DAO. It is quite literally the fuel of CryptoGene.
Correct, yeah. And we're trying to build this out. A lot of these, DeFi, GameFi games coming out, it's either like TurboTax with some graphics on top, or it's a game with a little bit of DeFi sprinkled in. Like, we're really trying to blend these so they're both cohesively thought out from the start, that there's not like one side overpowering the other. Like, no, playing TurboTax is no fun. So we really want to make it be a real true GameFi experience. Like, we're avid gamers for many moons. Like, I need a game that hooks me and addicts me, and that's what we want. Like, we want it to be fun, where you can escape and really feel that you're this geneticist that goes out there and creates these cool creatures and really, live in that experience.
Interesting. I'm getting a real Professor Oak vibe. Okay, so CryptoGene is a play-to-earn game where genes that can be extracted from one NFT can be added to another one. There's multiple token infrastructures, and there's an inbuilt narrative thread that will run through the NFTs alongside a system that encourages auto-botted play. Do I have that right, for the most part?
Yeah, I would say, just to speak to the auto botted play, Yes, in the sense that the Kymera have a mind or a bot, right, as part of their components, but the game does very much encourage human interaction for everything. And that's part of the way that we want to encourage delegation, is that as an individual, if you own 10 Kymera and you want to care for all of them, have them generate resources for you,
you're going to have to delegate.
To do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So so that right there, then, I guess, is your sort of anti-whale mechanism. Is a guy comes in, buys 20 Kymera or a ton, thinking, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna build the best team ever. I'm gonna have so many, and I'm gonna crush people. But then the mechanics come in, and this user with 20 of these creatures would then have to spend a lot of time managing each one individually. Am I on track?
Correct, yes.
Absolutely.
So that then would incentivize this whale user to basically do the rental thing, where they're leasing these out, in a sense.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Through centralized Dutch auction delegation.
Okay, that's really interesting. You guys are describing the chimeras as being alive and having these quote-unquote living memories. How systematic is this gameplay mechanic going to be as you're envisioning it, if you can tell me at this time?
Sure. So, I mean, the way, and again, I'll drop to Evan and Roscoe after I kind of set the vision here. But
okay.
We have a network that we're calling the Double-Helix network, and it's two chains running in parallel to each other, and that's what we identify as living NFTs. So on chain one, you have the body chain that's running with our sugar funge technology, and it's on-chain DNA and genetics. So there's traceable lineage. We use real CRISPR DNA algorithms to process and generate these fantasy creatures, Kymera. And then utilizing our technology, Simbotic, that is going to be and Roscoe hopefully will be proud of me for remembering this. This will be a multi-agent, human-in-the-loop artificial intelligence system that takes human interactions to accelerate the learning process of the AI systems that we have in place. And that will be the memory of these Kymera. And then it will function as a bit of a collective where memories can be passed down to new Kymera.
Wow.
That was perfect, Mark. That was good.
Okay. So there's deep learning involved here. There's going to be a fairly well integrated AI that's going to govern each of these critters differently.
Correct.
Correct.
Well, thank you, Roscoe. I want to, and to take it a step further, like we want our technology, we can harness. Like if you want, you can allow access to your camera and audio, where they can start to get to know you as a person, and to the point where if you have new people, like friends come over and you have your webcam on, the Kymera might kind of shy away or be aggressive because they don't know the new person that's in the room. So like we're really trying to bridge that connection between you and your Kymera to that these are actually real, living, organic NFTs out there.
I like the intent behind that, but it seems like that might be a security concern if somebody's cameras and mics can be tapped into.
No, it's all user, you choose, and it's only through the NFT warning. It's not like we're forcing that. That is not required for gameplay.
Is any of that audio or video going to be stored?
No, it's all real-time processing.
Real-time processing, okay. Very interesting. Are there going to be any gameplay-based roadblocks like many mobile free-to-play games might have, such as rechargeable energy or, stuff like that? It's okay if you can't tell me at this time. That's fine, too.
I was waiting for Mark or Roscoe to take that. I think he's muted right now.
Yep. Sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Sure. Are there going to be any sort of similar free-to-play roadblocks that might commonly occur in mobile games today, like rechargeable energy, like I can only use 30 points a day worth of fighting or something like that?
I mean, there will be some. I refer to those as time gates, right?
Yeah, time gates,
And
exactly. That's what I was asking. Sorry.
we're not putting in. I'm trying to figure out the best way to frame this. We're not using typical like old monetization strategies for that, right? It's not about putting a time gate in to monetize the user. There will be narrative and thematic time gates in a sense that certain equipment may take a time period to produce a result, or Kymera may take a certain amount of time to produce resources, and maybe they need to sleep after a certain number of battles. But it's not coming from a monetization standpoint, it's coming from an interactive standpoint, right? It's about building a fun and intuitive game, and really building a world in which you're interacting with your Kymera. So in that sense, yes, there will be some quote unquote time gates, but it's not about spending money. It's about being interactive with the creatures and the game and the environment.
Okay. Most free-to-play games will have some kind of additional monetization outside of their initial hook, which this game's initial hook would be obviously minting and battling and trading NFTs in that typical sense for Ethereum. Is CryptoGene going to sell loot boxes for DNA or something similar to that?
No. There's no traditional monetization strategies being used in CryptoGene today, and if we're referring to the pay-to-win style of monetization that you see in mobile games and the gaming industry today, our approach to that is we have discussed the possibility of having some mechanics in there that are similar, time savers, boosts. However, they're not going to be sold by us. They're going to be created by the users and sold by the users. So a user can sacrifice their time and resources to generate an item that will save a comparable amount of time or resources to another user. And they get to realize that upside. So the quote-unquote pay-to-win strategy, and really any monetization strategy within CryptoGene and the economic system therein, it's about empowering the community and their economic upside so that they're the ones that are putting the work in, and they're the ones that get to see the benefits from that. And of course, there's your standard, there's some fees involved on the CryptoGene side, right? Where when transactions occur, there's a small percentage fee. And that's where we make our money. It's about growing the community to a size that is, and creating an economic system that is scalable. And through that, the fees that we have and the technology that we're building is enough. We don't need to focus on monetizing CryptoGene as a game. We have built a lot of core technology, and we can even get into this discussion, but the technology that CryptoGene is built on top of, we are positioning as the unity of Web3 gaming. So through our engine technology, through our artificial intelligence technology and everything that we're building, we have additional revenue through that. And we also have some other avenues in which Sortium earns revenue to operate as a business. So CryptoGene is a free, and when I say free, I mean free of constraints. It's a free demonstration of the technology that we have built, and the entire goal of the project is to have a long-term scalable ecosystem in which you truly can play to earn. But we are trying to coin the phrase, you're free. You don't need anything to get in, and CryptoGene is not looking to nickel and dime you. It's looking to empower you.
And one thing, just to touch on the transactional costs, we're looking to use, and give back to the community majority of that through the treasury back to the staking holders. It's not that transactional fee goes back to CryptoGene. It goes to the stakers truly first, and then a tiny portion, is gone to maintain the platform. But like Mark said, we take care of it outside of that. We are doing that to give back to our stakers.
Wow, that's really cool. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it straight into the community questions. We might get some repeats, but that's honestly fine because we've got more people, and there's nothing wrong with reiterating on the really cool points, in my humble opinion. First question from Sarge 13 Bravo. Most pay-to-earn games are quite boring. Some chain games are half decent, like Blankos. How engaging are you hoping to make CryptoGene as a game? What will make it stand out among all the other ones that are out there?
So every single function within CryptoGene is gamified. To Evan's point earlier, where he said a lot of games feel like you're playing TurboTax, it really does. It feels like you're either playing a spreadsheet or a really shitty web interface. So I think one point I like to make is entertainment and gaming industries go in phases. And if you look back at the Web 2 gaming days, where you had Neopets and you had Farmville, it's kind of like Facebook integration when those free-to-play monetization strategies were new. You had gaming took a major step back. It was a very similar cycle that we went through, where the actual gaming and interactions you had and experiences you had took a backseat to the monetization strategy. And I think the same thing is happening now in Web 3. So where we take our stance is we're looking to skip a few generations of gaming development. And since we've already been working in this space for so long on both the blockchain technology and gaming, the AAA gaming industry, we can take our experience to build a really interactive and intuitive gaming experience that every blockchain interaction, every transaction, everything you do is a game. It's supposed to be entertaining. We're just leveraging blockchain and NFTs to give permanence, traceability, and a real economic backbone to a video game experience. So the entire goal of CryptoGene is to be the opposite of what is out there today, and really give players the opportunity to become attached to the content, feel like they're doing something meaningful, and actually do something meaningful, because they will have an opportunity for real economic upside due to how the system is built.
And I'll tell you right now, if my critter dies after earning me a bunch of money, I am emotionally attached. That's just a fact.
We want to provide ability for some of our most prized, and I mean not prized, but like our most cared for. Like we love in human nature, like we love our pets, right? So obviously want to provide a way for the cherished ones to be safe, but not all can be protected. And just to kind of touch on the platform that Mark was just talking about, from the start, from day one, our whole platform is VR native from browser. So we do real-time rendering in browser, mobile and web compatible. And from day one, you can throw on your VR headset and engage the game through VR. There won't be a competitive edge to that, but there might be more interactivity because we're able to harness hardware to achieve more fun and exciting interactions through gameplay.
All right. Fair Dave UA asks, why are all the critters called Kymera? And if CryptoGene implies evolution, why are you calling the role a DEGENeticist?
So, the creatures are called Kymera just due to the genetic nature of splicing. I mean, CryptoGene does imply evolution, but in CryptoGene, it's a man-made evolution. you as the geneticist, and I'll get into why we call them DEGENeticist in a moment, are responsible for the evolution of these creatures and taking and splicing two or more creatures together to continue that process. Similarly to how genetically engineered creatures or hybrids that in real life may be sterile, Kymera are as well. New Kymera are not made through breeding, they're made through splicing. And that could be considered morally questionable in the real world today. So we're tying that kind of concept in with the degen concept of crypto today, and really DEGENeticist is just a fun play on the word. But just speaking to the nature of crypto and NFTs and some of the terminology that's out there today, and quite frankly, we liked it. We thought it was cool. We also did a poll on the name for Kymera early on when we considered other names, and that was the most loved. So that is what they are called.
I'm all for polls. I think that's a good way when people are debating something hard. Like, what are we going to call the creature? Mac G asks, can you tell us more about the gameplay and mechanics? And in particular, this user's also interested in the soundtrack of the game.
Cool. So, yeah, I mean, as far as the gameplay and the interactions, it's the entire game is in 3D, right? It's all rendered in real time in 3D in your web browser or on your phone. You'll be able to interact in 3D space. I mean, the same way that you would in, let's say, I don't know, Call of Duty, or if you were playing Tarkov, or you were playing Portal, where you're in a 3D space and you can interact with 3D objects. In CryptoGene, you will go up to lab equipment. You'll interact with it. There will be different experiences depending on the type of equipment you're interacting with. When you're creating a Kymera, you will do gene pair editing, and there will be a gamified user interface for that experience as well. And then you'll create your Kymera, and then you'll have to care for it in that space, in that 3D space. You'll have areas where you'll be able to care for them, play with them. And when we activate some additional functionality for VR, maybe it's throwing a ball with your VR headset, or throwing some food to it, or
we're also looking at there in the real science world. There's these things called Skinner boxes, which are obstacle courses for lab experiments and whatnot. And so we want to have a way where you and your Kymera can go through these obstacle courses or dungeon if you're used to RPGs, kind of like instance crawling, where you can go in and be there with them and experience it together and kind of play through game mechanics.
And then speaking to the soundtrack, right now the theme, if you go watch our trailer video, that'll give you kind of a sense of some of the music. And then we have more being composed for the full game.
Cool. All right. Master Halo 40 asks, can you mention what advantages NFT holders will have and what difference playing to earn games could make to innovators and attracting gamers? He also wants to know about the chain you chose and the mint price to get started.
Sure. Evan, do you want to take it?
Yeah, I can talk to the chain. So, and Rosgo can as well. We chose Ethereum as the main net to be on because there's a lot of liquidity there for players and for all sorts. It has good markets. It's established. But what we do is our Double-Helix chain is substrate underneath, so Polkadot substrate parity team, and then our sugar basically sprinkled on top. No pun intended. Our tech is called Sugar Funds. So it's it can run as an L1, meaning it can run as an Ethereum chain, or Avalanche or EVM compatible, or Polkadot. It can run as an L2, meaning it can run on top of any chain, and that's where we're going to have it live. It can also run as an L3 side chain, but what we want to do is have it run as an L2, where we keep all game mechanics and computations and storage and everything living on an L2 on top of chains, which we already have bridging to any EVM compatible, any substrate compatible, Ethereum itself. I mean, we even have a Bitcoin bridge all through the substrate team that has already paved the way. Our tech is always backwards compatible. So anytime a new version of substrate comes out, we are updating to the latest, and then our modules live on top. So for gas fees, for minting, for all that, we really want to encourage the player, and we want to find favor for the player. So everything will be done on the side chain so that you don't incur any of those extra fees. So you're not spending ETH for every transaction. Anytime that you want to take things out of the ecosystem, then that's where that would occur, bringing it back onto mainnet. But to encourage players and to keep costs down, everything will transact and happen on the sidechain. We have our dexes there. We have like a Uniswap V2 clone for the launchpad. We have our own marketplace for trading NFTs and resources. So everything can be done in the L2 on top and avoid any gas. And the way that Substrate allows us to do, we have control over what token is used for each transaction for the gas. And so we were able to prevent a lot of that unnecessary spending to play a video game. So, Roscoe, do you have any extra? Did I touch on it?
Oh, you covered it all. That was great.
Cool.
Cool. All right. We've already gone over that one. Perfy, how do you expect the value of living NFTs to react to the interactions that they'll have in the 3D environment? Also, do you expect living NFTs to act in the market similar to breeding axes, where only rare trait roles carry the added value and the rest are less desirable?
So I think that living NFTs, as far as how they interact with the world, and maybe hopefully I fully understood the question. Based on what you do in the environment is going to stay with them. So it could be if you feed them every time, every day at the same time, they're going to expect that. That's going to be part of what
the routine.
Make them happy. Yeah. So you build the routines for your Kymera. The idea is that it's the same way as caring for a pet. Except with the added bonus that, like Pokemon, you get to battle them. And your interactions training them for battle are also going to be seen when they go to fight another creature. If a creature presents traits or attacks that maybe are unfamiliar to your creature, they're not going to know how to handle it unless you train them to do so. So there's going to be a number of interactions, and this will be a growing system that we continue to build on once we launch it, with the goal of building out that complexity. So every experience with a Kymera is a meaningful and translates in some way to how they see and act with their environment within CryptoGene. Speaking to traits and value, I think that rare traits will obviously be a massive, if not one of the largest factors in the value of a Kymera. And that could be any number of things. Some traits may have a Kymera producing more resources, and maybe they're not as great of a fighter, or they are a really great fighter and their resource production is awful. And some of these traits will be able to be generated or modified over generations of Kymera to be better or worse through the genetic engineering process. But another important factor, or something that we want to be an important factor, is going to be the skill factor. Was a Kymera raised properly? From the time it was small, while it was developing, was it given optimal treatment to bring out the traits in it to their highest? So perhaps a suboptimal DNA structure is offset by optimal skill of the player itself and how they raise a chimera. And I think that's going to be a large part of what generates value as well.
Okay. Milkman asks, how do you see your game developing or updating if it's a success? What are you planning to add? I think what this user is saying, like, beyond the roadmap that's on the site, assuming this thing blows up big time, do you have any, like, wish list gameplay features that you're going to be going for?
I think we really want to dive into interactions more and more. We have that stuff in there, but all of our future features will be focused around having you feel connected to Kymera, having you feel like they are real, like it is truly a living virtualized organism. So I think being able to take them into metaverses with you, have them traverse the various metaverses with you outside of CryptoGene, having very intuitive mobile experiences to interact with them while you're on the go. AR support, which we do have some AR support already within in Sugar Funds, but having, you know, like that Pokemon Go style AR support, I think would be excellent. And then, of course, allowing players to connect with each other and each other's Kymera and building on functions to really empower communities to be together. So I think multiplayer functions and world building functions would be huge. And then another kind of grand plan for CryptoGene is I refer to it as multi-pronged storytelling or interactive storytelling, where I'd like to take some of my experience from working with Michael Eisner and Walt Disney and stuff and build stories, whether it's an animated series or graphic novels that are directly bridged from what the community has partaken in on CryptoGene. So as organizations form, as battles take place, as new Kymera and traits are discovered, having those interactions and those events translate into linear storytelling that supplements the world of CryptoGene. I think that's huge to continue building a narrative.
Definitely. And Rosgo, can you jump in and explain to everyone here the MMO aspect of an NFT? Your very nice fancy way of explaining an NFT.
Oh yeah, you say MMO, you catch my attention.
Yeah.
Well, each NFT is powered by a proper game engine, networking, 3D, VR, everything. And the how you interact with the NFT is defined from your Web3 properties, like your wallet and your association with ownership or creation. So basically, you can play inside any NFT, or you can move NFTs around, and it can get really really turtles all the way down. I don't know how much you want me to go deeper into that, but
I'm down for you to lay it on them. I think we should.
Oh yeah, if you want to drop nuggets, we're here for the nuggets, you guys.
Now's the time. Let's go.
Yeah. So the networking is like it's a P2P networking. So you can just anybody can connect to anybody. It has lobbies, and it has a real time game mechanics state distribution. So basically, we can run any type of game mechanic inside the NFTs. What we would need to do is have a nice portal into these NFTs, because the current marketplaces are not up for the challenge. But we're there. We have it in testing. We're playing around with NFTs already.
Yeah, so kind of what he's saying is while you are having an experience with one of your NFTs, your friend can connect through your NFT and watch you actually interact with that NFT.
Or
And-
interact with.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, or interact with you. I think, the point and what Evan and Rosgar are both saying is that with Sugar Funge and how we have our system built, every single NFT has networking capabilities in that, depending on how we want to build the experience and what we want to unlock for users to be able to do, every single NFT, every Kymera that's made, any tokenized asset, we can build interactive experiences on.
Yeah, the core game loops are 1155 themselves, to just put it in perspective.
I mean, at this point, I'm just imagining some celebrity on webcam with like 500,000 people watching them, just screaming at like a digital creature because it won't, do a barrel roll or something.
Right. Or everybody attend the funeral.
Yeah, let's attend a funeral because I was irresponsible and starved my Kymera.
Or the plague rolled through, who knows? No.
Oh, baby. Oh, I see. Now that's dangerous. Danger mode. If you're going to roll the plague through, that you have to, I'm going to have to ask, just because this community talks about it sometimes, if the plague is a game mechanic, am I going to be allowed to vaccinate my Kymera?
Oh, jeez. That's not a topic we're getting into.
No worries. I have to ask it because it's a shitlord question.
You realize I opened that door.
No,
Nice.
it's okay.
Thanks, Evan.
It's okay.
Thanks, Evan.
I know. Everybody.
No worries. Moving
We
on.
can't have nice things.
This is why we can't have nice things, people. All right, moving on.
Exactly.
If you guys could tell
just
me,
a really quick shout out to the incredibly active community in the AMA channel. I have been so floored with the number of questions and the depth and the richness of the questions. So
we appreciate that.
Yeah, I am so floored by how engaged everybody has been. So, and I've maintained my record of being kicked out of AMAs. So, thank you. Yep, that's true now. So,
did you get muted in our chat?
I did.
Oh, bloody hell.
I want everyone to know that Mark, myself, Roscoe, Nick, Juliet, we're all always available. We're built for transparency and openness. Like, if you ask us something, we're going to tell you. Please always know that you can always reach out to us and ask us the hard questions. We will answer.
Yeah, and I feel like it's worth noting everyone who's speaking today has essentially doxed themselves to speak with us, so that's kind of worth noting. You're talking to a doxed team, which we're not always talking to a doxed team, so that's really cool.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, for better or worse, folks.
Right.
Long haul. We're not here for a short time.
Yep. Please don't send them hate mail. Please send them actual questions. Yes. Smoker Thou asks, can you if you can tell us about the entry system for new players? Do you pay once and then play to earn more, or get in for free and then buy stuff to advance?
Sure. So when we launched CryptoGene, for those who are on the whitelist and get first access, 1,000 CGN will be required to turn on your lab, essentially. But it's not a purchase. It's not a buy-in. It's a stake. So by staking 1,000 CGN into various pieces of equipment, you'll turn your lab on, and then you will earn some CGN as a reward from our starter yield, as well as start to generate DNA for the first Kymera that will be generated, which in our phase 1, we call it the simulation phase, which is where all of our participants will be taking part in creating simulated Kymera, so like holograms. And then that phase will last about a month, in which all of that data that's being done, it's basically a community collective to perfect the actual DNA algorithms that'll be used for creating the full Kymera in phase 2. And your simulations will be a blueprint for the Kymera, the first Kymera that gets to be made.
Okay.
After phase 1, then that's when the free options, the delegated options, will be available, and users will be able to come in and work for other users doing various tasks.
And how can I have that is, there'll be kind of like a LinkedIn profile, if you will, that keeps track of what you've done and what you've achieved and what you've discovered. You might have discovered something, and we want to allow, researchers and research teams to really publish their findings, if you will, and have ownership.
We also need to discover what the TTD is and ensure that that's not the only thing that comes out of this.
It'll be real quick, 2 weeks.
Okay. Zio asks, can you tell us what inspired your team to create living NFTs?
I can speak a little bit about what inspired me when I originally came up with the idea for CryptoGene, and then how Evan and Roscoe jumped in and put their ideas into this and made this whole thing possible. For me, when I came up with CryptoGene, the name, in 2011, and first started to put a project together, before it was ever a blockchain-related title, it was about taking the Tamagotchi and Pokemon experiences and creating something that didn't feel like you were a puppeteer, but rather a true trainer with companions in the virtual space. That was something that was very important for me. And at the time, the technology wasn't in a spot to do it, and I didn't have a team in place to really execute on that vision. And then working with Evan on the TOPS project and various other projects, we started discussing what we wanted to build, and I brought up CryptoGene, and he immediately had some amazing ideas, and also was like, we need to speak to this guy, Alex, Roscoe here. And we started discussing collectively, and I kind of presented the idea, and Roscoe had said he had real DNA algorithms that we could utilize and use CRISPR, which I was pretty familiar with, but I never thought about applying that to a game or fantasy project. Evan had some amazing ideas about the interactivity of Kymera, and then through talking, I mean, I was saying I wanted it to feel like they were alive, and we just kind of came up with the idea of, well, if we compare traceable genetics with on-chain provable AI and build a really intuitive experience, these things could be alive, or as close to alive as one could get today. And we could call them living NFTs, which would differentiate us from everything else that's out there.
That's such a cool idea. It's such a cool idea.
Yeah, that was well spoken. I don't think I can add to it what he said.
Milkman asks if you guys could go back to the beginning of the journey. Is there anything which you would do differently?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
I'd do it all again, baby.
For me, the beginning of the journey was dropping out of high school. No regrets.
Hey, me too. Let's go.
Bunch of dropouts. True degens. No, honestly,
the DJ goes hard here.
I think. Look, life in general. I'm just going to sound pretty lame, maybe, but life is a journey, right? And if you take all of the experiences that add up to the end result, it takes all of it. It takes the missteps. It takes the faults. It takes the little successes and learnings. And CryptoGene has been over a decade of thoughts and experiences, and this is not just from me. This is from everybody. Whatever led Roscoe to working on genetics and AI, whatever led Evan to working on some of these incredible blockchain technologies and various projects. There's a lot of hardship, there's a lot of failure, and there's a lot of little successes. And collectively, between myself and all of the founders here, that's what added up to us running into each other and trusting each other, because we all knew that we'd already been through the ringer several times and knew what it would take to make a successful project. And we're not launched and successful yet, but we are growing quickly, and we as a company, Sortium is already a success and positioned to make something really incredible for everybody here that's listening, and everybody who has yet to hear about CryptoGene. So, going back and saying, oh yeah, I really wish I would have changed this, and we could have made this 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It's like that's not really valid, because anything could have changed everything else in a negative way. So I think the collective experiences of everybody here is what added up to having what we have today. And I personally don't have any regrets or anything I would like to have changed. I'm very fortunate and grateful for where we all are, and I'm grateful for my co-founders and the experience they have.
And I as well, and kind of our company Sortium, the root word is sortis, which is kind of, the definition is fate, and we kind of see it as that everything brought us to this point, the good and the bad together. Like we wouldn't know what is good without the bad, and we've all been in the trenches together, one form or another, for many years, and fought many battles, and we know the extent that each person will go to succeed and to accomplish and to deliver and execute. So it's kind of a dream team, and it's a pleasure and an honor to work with everyone here.
This is awesome. We're basically at the hour mark. I want to respect everyone's busy schedules, and if people have a reason to leave, now is a decent time, but we still have a ton of awesome community questions to get through, so if you guys could stick around for a bit and keep answering questions, that would be really appreciated.
I'm down.
Yeah, I think we already missed one of our meetings, so at this point, and then that's not to make anybody feel bad. I think we've already missed one, which I happily pushed off to stay. So I think we do have a little bit of extra time.
Okay.
Roscoe, do you have a little time?
Yep, let's do it.
Cool. Sweet. We very much appreciate it. All right, moving right along. Arthix asks, did any game in particular inspire this project? Maybe a little game called Spore.
Yeah, so Spore, we've talked about Spore a lot. That was definitely an inspiration. I would say if you take Pokemon, Digimon, Spore, and there's a few other small inspirations out there, all really took a creative, I would say, inspirational piece. But specifically, a huge thing for me was the little handheld Digimon. They were called Digivices. I remember being a kid. Actually, just talked about this, I think, for a blog post. But running around the neighborhood, and you'd click them into each other, and you'd fight other kids. And it was like pre-Xbox Live days. You just curse them out in person when you lost and tell them how much they sucked.
Yeah.
And then if you won, you'd still tell them how much they sucked, and run off happy. So that was a big inspiration, and it just felt like you had your little companion with you. And for me, that's really what it was all about. It's about building that companion relationship, and I think Pokemon, as great as it is, had some really big holes there. But yeah.
Until Pokemon Go, it was a missed opportunity, definitely.
Although the early days of Pokemon Go was the closest we have ever gotten to world peace, though. I played Pokemon Go at launch, and I've never seen people who would normally not get along more. And then, I mean, unfortunately, that quickly died out.
Yeah.
But if they had done the right thing and they kept that experience alive, I think we'd be in some weird utopia where everybody's just running around staring at their phones playing Pokemon. And
It was so good.
It was a weird, magical few months in which everything was okay.
I was driving out of my car and popped a tire looking for Pokemon. So I have a different view on that when it came out.
I got caught breaking into a college to try and get like a Charizard or something at the time, and I got caught by the cops, and they were like, oh, they were mad, and then they were like, oh, are you playing Pokemon Go? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what's here? And they just wanted to know what was there. and we didn't get into there. No trouble whatsoever. A grown adult breaking into a college, then joined by the cops.
Let's go look for Pokemon, you guys.
It was so bizarre.
Please tell me neither of you were Team Instinct. That's all I need to ask here.
I'm hanging up right now.
I'll be over here representing Team Mystic. Yeah.
We're gonna have to have a performance talk later.
Oh my.
Performance review.
Oh Lord. Luca SP asks, is there going to be a simple explanation somewhere, like on Discord or the website, that both my 11-year-old nephew and my 67-year-old grandma could use to understand the game?
Maybe. I think it gets really deep, right? But if you just want to come in and play, you don't even have to understand blockchain or NFTs. Just understand you go to CryptoGene.com, especially once the delegation systems are live, just go to CryptoGene.com and start playing, right? You can do tasks for people, take care of their creatures, and it's all about having fun in the lab and making creatures and playing with them. I mean, it's as simple as that at the highest level. But of course, there's so much technology on the back end that makes it a full, robust experience for those that really do want to dive into the technicalities.
Okay.
I will add, as a non-extremely technical individual who has worked in a technical world for quite some time, we've tried to disseminate some of the technical jargon in the community. So if you go to #StartHere, if you go to sneak peeks, if you peruse the website, if you go to the #AMA channel in the community, there's plenty of information in an easy to understand format that I believe a middle schooler or an elderly individual would be able to understand in a way that would at least pique their interest and want to research further and learn further. So,
okay. Luca has a somewhat follow-up related to the claim that you guys are the first to integrate NFTs and the Digimon kind of idea. He's wondering what the most comparable project to yours, in your all's opinion, would be, and any market strategy you have to stay the dominant, I guess, digital Tamagotchi of the NFT verse.
Sure. So, I mean, the elephant in the room is Axie, right? I don't think that there's other projects out there, right? Don't get me wrong. There's other but I think the other projects out there, they're more Pokemon clones, or even worse, they're Axie clones. And I say even worse because Axie is obviously derived from Pokemon.
Yes.
And then you get like this weird. Imagine you take a piece of paper and you copy that piece of paper, right? Then whatever's written on it. Then you copy that copy. You do that again, and it just starts to get diluted. And that's what it feels like a lot of these other projects are out there. So I give a lot of credit to Axie and that team, because even though it's obviously heavily inspired by Pokemon, there's originality there as well. And I look at them. I don't even want to say I look at them as competition, because I think we're in different boats. They paved the way and opened the floodgates for these kinds of games to be adopted. And I think CryptoGene, and part of our benefit and our strength is that I truly believe, I say 3 years, I think Rosgo says 5, but we're 3 to 5 years, technologically speaking, ahead of the curve. And we're very confident in that number. The genetic systems, traceability, using real CRISPR algorithms, the artificial intelligence portion, our 3D web engine. These are things that enhance the game experience, and we have an amazing creative team behind this as well. It's a true original IP, and I don't think there's a lot or any truly original IPs out there on blockchain today. Everything that I've seen, or most, I'll say most, seems to be diluted gameplay where it feels like you're playing TurboTax, even if it is potentially an original idea, or it's so heavily based on some a clone of that property that it's mimicking. And I think CryptoGene is a truly original idea with original concepts, new gameplay. Even if we weren't a blockchain game, I think CryptoGene would stand out as just a video game. But the way that we're leveraging blockchain and NFT technology is fundamentally unique. So I think what keeps us, or potentially could keep us as the dominant Digimon or virtual pet NFT Web3 game, is our originality and our technology that cannot be copied.
Gotcha. Leo Ank asks, how does the feeding work? He wonders if there's a cost and if any permanent changes to the Kymera are incurred as a result.
Yes. So food is tokenized. So it's an ERC asset, right? And we're still working out the details of what we want to do. But as I said before, like, food should be, most likely it'll be user generated. Somebody creates it, farms it. We'll have ways to kickstart those economic systems, but those are all great tasks for other users to be able to perform and then reap the rewards of, sell to other players at a market value, and then users can run the economy how they choose. And as far as permanent change, I mean, from the AI perspective, yes, any interaction has a permanent change, right? So as far as growing, nurturing, I want to say yes. The intent is to have, and just to keep in mind, everybody listening, some of these things will roll out in phases, not necessarily all at once. But yeah, the intent would be you feed, and the way that you raise and interact with your creatures is what determines how well they've grown, and the quality of growth that they've gone through. So in that sense, again, yes, permanence, even with something as simple as feeding.
Okay. Wolf MVP asks, do the live NFTs have an aging process? And if they do, how are you going to differentiate yourselves from other projects that have a similar aging feature?
We haven't really committed to an aging feature yet.
Okay.
Currently, they're from an age perspective, they're immortal. That is not how death would occur. It's not you're not running on a time limit, or at least that's the current thought. Again, subject to change there, because that's still something we're in the middle of discussing, and something that'll come out during our phase 2 process. But right now, we don't know how we would want to implement aging as a factor in Kymera. But perhaps you could imagine that as they get older, there's a prime in which DNA can be extracted for the largest efficiency, and potentially over time there's a diminishing return, right? There's an increase in efficiency and then a drop off of efficiency when you extract DNA. That would be one very simple execution of aging in CryptoGene that we could potentially do. But I don't think we're going to do a process where they only live for 300 days or something like that. That's not the intent.
Okay. Solidium asks, with all the new information coming out in the biological field with how DNA and mutations work, has there been any thought to perhaps partnering with doctors or databases? And not only,
I love this question.
Yeah, and not only making CryptoGene more realistic, but also educational. It would be incredible to see biomed mixed with Web3.
Yeah,
so before you take that,
yeah.
Mark's about to run with it, but we do on our advisory team have Dr. Nadine Dabby. She was a MIT Caltech student. She's done TED Talks on programming molecular robots, where she would actually program protein molecules. Living organisms and whatnot. So like we have access to advisory that help us to keep the science, the sci-fi scientific, the science fiction scientific actually kind of scientific, but Mark he's going to drop a bomb here. That great question, great setup. It's coming.
So there's a grand vision for CryptoGene and the Double-Helix network that takes us on very seriously. I think to start, we've already spoken to educational systems as far as using CryptoGene and the fact that we are using real CRISPR DNA algorithms to help educate students. But the long-term grand vision is to have the people partaking in playing CryptoGene or running nodes or being a part of the Double-Helix network is to contribute to the sciences and medical fields. And the way we plan to do that in the future here is as we grow the Double-Helix network and the participants in that network, and Axie has mentioned this grand vision of a billion users worldwide, right? But that's a billion users worldwide that all that computational power is going to waste. They're running transactions, they're engaged in a system that, and I have questions on whether or not their economic system will scale. I hope it does. I think it's a good project, but there's an argument to be said that it's not scalable because it's just game mechanics. There's nothing else going on there. There's no outside potential coming into the system to help fuel the economics. What we plan to do with Double-Helix is open up and tap into that network. And if we get to the point where we have 1 billion users, which would be a beautiful day, we would leverage people in that network for real DNA processing, real genetics processing. So pairing the creation of a chimera with a real world simulation or contribution, utilizing our network. So we could, in theory, decentralize scientific and medical genetics processing. And that would be one of the long-term goals for the Double-Helix network is you not only get to play to earn, but you get to play to contribute to changing the world and being a part of a network that realizes the potential upside in contributing in these changes.
And just to give you guys a little preview, Roscoe, can you explain how we take research papers and turn it into actual GameFi and kind of touch on that?
Sure. We find popular GitHub papers on GitHub that have a research code, meaning it has conceptual code that's not really ready for production, but it's proving. Several universities have validated it and it works. And we go through the process of productizing those machine learning models. And we make them run fast, run in under 10 milliseconds so they can run in VR and real-time games. And then they go through our simulator, and almost every aspect of the machine learning model is tokenized, so it becomes part of the blockchain. And rinse and repeat. That's
so through this process and through a bunch of magic on the end of Roscoe here, we can take research grade genetics processing algorithms, and while we use some of that for gaming, we can also use that for real world use, and that's kind of the long-term grand vision for the Double-Helix network.
Wow, that's awesome. Devin BG asks, is CGN already listed? Can we buy it now?
You cannot. It will be listed. I don't know. Have we announced the launch date before I say this, Evan?
Juliet.
Somebody.
Someone help.
Sorry, apologies.
Did we publicly say this anywhere? The launch date?
Yeah, if you guys haven't given a launch date yet, that's okay.
We're making sure if we have or not.
Yeah.
I don't believe that we have published it, but our Twitter does say February of 22.
Okay,
Cool.
so you're targeting February release.
Yeah, so we're targeting a February, and then I'll say end of February release, in which the CGN, our DEX will go live with liquidity pools for CGN and DNA. So you'll be able to buy direct from our DEX. We're not doing any kind of, we're talking to one or two launch pads, but we're not really intending, or we don't have any need to do like a public sale. We can simply launch the DEX and allow people to buy in that way. We have a small private sale that's listed in our tokenomics structure that'll occur. And that private sale is mostly to equity holders and investors in Sortium. And that money is being utilized for the purpose of creating those large starting liquidity pools. And I mean, to the point, I think it's like a $10 million liquidity pool for CGN at launch, and like a $1 or $2 million liquidity pool for DNA. So generating a healthy market right from the start on those. And when those go live, you'll be able to buy from the DEX.
Okay.
Which will be a Uniswap on our sidechain. So.
Gotcha. Least Comic Standing asks, you say you've worked on blockchains, specifically Wax, where transactions are easy and essentially free, and that you're trying to solve the expensive to enter games problem. If that's the case, then why would you choose Ethereum for the cash-out chain when it's kind of complicated to use and quite expensive on the gas side?
So I think Evan talked a little bit about this earlier, but at the end of the day, Ethereum is the largest liquidity market, obviously aside from Bitcoin, right? But as far as game interactions go, or crypto markets go, where you can build on top of, it's really Ethereum. So if you're not compatible with Ethereum, and this is something I've seen with numerous projects, you get into this unfortunate state where it's very hard to support the economy at scale, because all the money is there. But utilizing our bridges, and I mean, you can cash out in multiple ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be Ethereum, but having those contracts live as native ERC20 contracts on the Ethereum mainnet gives a ton of flexibility. And for those that do want the greatest access to liquidity, they have it. So then from there, it's up to us as the creators to ease that experience for users who are less familiar. And that's a challenge that we have to take on. But you need to start in a place that makes people who are familiar with interacting in this space comfortable and confident. And the best place to do that is having direct interoperability with Ethereum.
And just to take it one step further, we are offering, DEXs and marketplaces on our sidechain where you can transact and essentially do everything and consolidate it down to wrapped ETH and take it right out of the network. So we're making it very frictionless, as easy as possible for.
And I'll also close by saying, Evan, myself, and I know Roscoe to some extent, we've all worked on fiat on-ramp, off-ramp systems within the crypto space. Anyone who's interacted with Top Shot knows how much of a shit show that was to try and get your money out. When Evan and I built the Topps NFTs platform, we were the first automated fiat off-ramp system that allowed for wire out, wire in, ACH. Sorry, a bus passed me.
No worries.
ACH out, ACH in. So we had a massive amount of international options for interacting with fiat currency. That is still in such a... And we built this whole system from scratch. And it, with compliance issues and everything, you can get people into... You have to be so careful. You can get people into so much financial trouble.
Yeah.
When you integrate those options. And they're notoriously complex. And it's so easy to have a horrible experience for the user if it's not done properly. And it's something if we're going to do with CryptoGene, we want to do it 100% right. And we have some really, really good advisors and partners in this space. So it's something that we're looking into so that there's those options for people. But for anybody who knows, checkout.com, one of their executives is our advisor. They're a payments processing system. They do the payments processing for Netflix. So we're very familiar, and Amazon. So we're very familiar with this space and with payments in general. And I can just say we chose Ethereum because of our experience working with various chains. And we chose to not start with fiat on-ramp, off-ramps, again, because of our experience in this space. And we want to make sure it's a positive experience. So we'd rather start somewhere, which is having interoperability with Ethereum, and then continue to build on that experience to smooth it out for the less knowledgeable.
Okay.
We do have bridging to other EVM and substrate platforms that we are looking to include later. So Ethereum isn't the only stop.
Okay. Wolf MVP asks, are you offering any schemes or scenarios where holders with stake can recuperate gas fees? Some projects are doing that.
I mean, I'll say that nothing in the economic system of CryptoGene I would I would define as a scheme.
Fair enough.
But there will be ways for you to earn. We're not just going to pay back gas fees, or these have to be core economic loops. They have to be sustainable and scalable. So even with the starter yield that we have in CGN staking, that's designed to be overtaken by fee generation that then flows back into the ecosystem. So the more players that are onboarded and start to interact, the more fees that are generated, and the more stakers will get rewarded as a result from that. But there's no half-baked schemes to try and
well, I don't mean by I don't think the user meant any negative connotation when they said scheme. I think they're referring to platforms like 1inch, which has like a gas buyback where if you make trades on 1inch, they'll send you some tokens as, you know.
Well, so even when I say schemes, and I don't mean to put a huge negative connotation on it, I just mean it still needs to be a circular system and a scalable system of economics, right? So even those, I'll admit I'm not super familiar with their model behind that or how scalable it is. But there will be opportunities as a user for you to earn. But we don't have anything explicit where it's like a gas buyback.
Okay.
Yeah, we have, I believe we put in the white paper, we're looking at like a 4% transaction fee on Marketplace, 75% of which goes back to the ecosystem, back to the stakers of CGN. So I believe it's the largest back to the community portion I've seen out there on transactional fees. So it might not be a buyback on gas, but you are going to earn and participate in all transactions by being a CGN stakeholder.
Okay.
Yeah, and gas is not even interesting in terms of pricing. Like, it's all the DeFi fees.
Gotcha. Are the Baby Girl asks if there's minimum or maximum staking?
Really quick.
What?
But I have to bounce really quick. I did not expect us to go over. This is absolutely amazing. I'm very happy we are. But I just wanted to give everybody just a quick heads up that who is listening, who is probably interested in CryptoGene and getting on the whitelist and getting involved. So currently we have a way for you to get on the whitelist. It's through a small mini game that we've created. So if you want to get your address on there and get your special role in the community, if you go to the Start Here channel in CryptoGene, in the CryptoGene community, and scroll down a bit, you will see the process to play the game and get your whitelist role. So go ahead and do that as soon as possible, because this is not going to be open forever. The window will close. So just wanted to let everybody know how they can get on the whitelist before I have to bounce. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mancini, for your time. I did have a question I wanted to ask you, but if you can get back to us about it, we'd appreciate it.
If we can go ahead and handle it now, I can make a couple
just 1 second. I had one question, specifically a hard one for you from community member Zek, who noted that you were a previous community manager with bonding projects such as Cent, Trade the Chain, and also Platypunks. He noted that Platypunks kind of lost a lot of steam, and he's wondering if you can have any comment on what protocols that CryptoGenes might take or measures to ensure that it's going to stick around in a way that, say, Platypunks did not.
Sure. So I don't want to talk about any other project on here because this is CryptoGene's time, but I will say there is an inherent difference in the projects. CryptoGene is a play-to-earn continuous game in which you are earning token rewards. Your creature is obviously growing in strength and identity and brand. It's going to be worth more purely based on the fact that you are playing a game and earning better stats for it, as well as earning a reward in turn for your staking and participation. So I completely understand the outlook and the question, although this is two completely different types of project.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly. One's play to earn, one's simply, kind of more of a collectible
NFT series.
Seen differently. And I just want to make sure everybody understands the difference between, a collectible project versus a legitimate video game that requires participation and all of that. So
Roger that.
I'll also just add that we are a healthily already funded project with a professional team, outline roadmap, and outline marketing plan to ensure that people are aware. It's one thing to have like a grassroots where things grow and you get in front of people, but having a healthy marketing budget certainly doesn't hurt.
Amen. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mancini. We appreciate it. All right,
Thank you so much. Hope everyone has a great day. And feel free to reach out on CryptoGene if you have any more questions. Thank you.
Yeah, we just have a couple more questions from the community for the remaining team members who want to stick around and answer. Smoker Thou is asking if there's any way to learn the uniqueness of the Kymera systems, something like a skill tree in an RPG that we could look at.
There's nothing to look at today, but we will put together, or the plan is to definitely put together some material to help outline what traits there are and what the various Kymera could look like. But again, this is genetics that's user created and edited. So I don't think this team could even potentially outline all the possibilities or differences that will be possible in CryptoGene. I think everybody on this call will probably end up being surprised in some of the creations we see start to emerge. And that's kind of the beauty of emergent gameplay. We get to create the foundation and then hand it off to the community to surprise us.
All right. Anubis Kibawat asks, what is the rarity rate? So basically, can't you guys disclose your rarity rates for minting? And are holders going to receive different rewards based on rarity?
We don't have anything in place to give holders like any kind of benefit based on the rarity, like from an airdrop perspective or anything like that, from an earnings perspective. Again, it's going to depend on the genetics. Some common, quote unquote, common tier Kymera may produce more resources than something that has legendary traits. But we don't have anything that we're releasing now that goes over the various rarities, and I think we're still playing a little bit with what it's even going to mean to have rare traits in CryptoGene.
Gotcha. Still in conceptualization.
There's also the chain will publicly have the crossover rates and the mutation rates of the DNA algorithms. So there's that. That's the algorithm is going to be completely open, and then the fitness function is decided by the market and what people do with the chimeras.
Okay. Wolf MVP is back. They note the detailing of the game is quite exquisite and must have been expensive. By what stage or phase do you guys think you will reach return on investment?
I mean, that's hard to say in any NFT or crypto project, right? I mean,
yeah.
The goal is to have a sustainable and sustainably growing model in place. I mean, it's great when you see these projects blow up and they make $1 billion instantly, but I don't think we've seen one case yet where that hasn't then almost immediately resulted in massive drop-off.
Yeah.
I'd much rather see for CryptoGene the start off smooth and have a long-term growth cycle that everybody benefits from. So I don't know if I can speak to when we hope to make an ROI, but CryptoGene, as I kind of said more, it's of course everything it's about money, right? You want to make profit, but the way that Sortium is positioned, CryptoGene really isn't only about making money. It's about demonstrating the technology in which we feel we can make long-term revenue on as a company. So I think we're in an interesting position where Sortium's upside and success isn't directly correlated to CryptoGene. CryptoGene is a demonstration that will hopefully get other projects and other companies onboarded into our ecosystem and into our technology. And then we have a number of other efforts that we go through to make profit for Sortium.
Okay. USMB2 asks, other than the USA, Asia, and specifically South Asian countries like India and Pakistan are big markets of crypto and NFTs. Does CryptoGene have any plans to target those markets?
Mark, you want to take that one?
Yeah. Otherwise, I can jump in. Oh, okay.
Sure.
Whoever.
Hi. Sorry, it's Juliet. So we are looking at a global release, so we're absolutely going to be targeting a bunch of different geos, right? It's a very much international community that's engaged with NFTs. So we don't want to be exclusively domestically focused. We want to make sure that we're looking at the APAC region as well as Europe. So we will absolutely be targeting a global release, and there's just so many engaged parties across the world, and we want to make sure that everyone has that opportunity.
Okay.
One other thing is we have we're very been in the space in the Central and South America regions for quite some time, and we also want to give back to the communities there as well. So we will be targeting those regions as well, specifically to assist with users and gameplay.
Okay. Now I'm going to get to some popular demand questions, which took me a while because there were so many. Zach put a big series of questions. One of them was for Nick specifically. We already covered that. Question 1 from Zach. You guys seem to have named a few challenges that you guys are going to try and overcome. The challenges being the lack of value in gamification, expensive and time-consuming gameplay, payment fraud, high fees, slow transactions, just a few, as the minting date nears closer. What measures and efforts are put into overwhelming these complex challenges? Have you guys overcome any of these? That's a tough one.
Yeah, want me to take a shot on that and the technical side?
Sure.
Okay, so there's a few things that we're solving, which is the private economy of the game. We're trying to solve decentralized ownership. We're trying to solve decentralized accounting. We're trying to solve the Pareto distribution issue where winner takes all. We're trying to solve the marginal utility where with diminishing returns. We're trying to solve the division of labor, where we identify how best people can cooperate for the maximizing the return on everybody playing the game. We're trying to resolve different automated market making. Since we have several tokens, we want to be able to discover the right price of everything, including the labor of everybody playing. We want to protect the economy, and all this requires having a great simulator. I keep coming back to the simulator. We're doing heavy research on tokenizing every aspect of the game, which gives us a very powerful quantitative modeling system that we can simulate. So that means we can really put state-of-the-art algorithms into all the type of pressures that the market does, pricing gives out, and that's how we're going to attack it on the technical side of things. Then there's the game theory side of things that Mark and Evan can talk about.
Okay. You guys seem to have partnered with Sortium, Pangea, FMFW, and ModMD. What utility and use cases do those partners have that make your project better?
I think probably partner is the wrong word for that. So I know where you're coming from
Gotcha.
from the website. Pangea is an investor. FF, sorry.
That's a mouthful.
FMFW, I believe. That they are part of our advisory team, same as ModMD. So those are our personal advisors in the companies they currently work for at the time.
Gotcha. All right, cool. And the
I will add though that you know those advisors come with a wealth tree. Pangea, for those familiar, they were one of the first investors in Axie, and even Arca, who's one of our investors, have helped with tokenomics, and Pangea has brought tokenomics experts, and each of us has our own experience. So all of these advisors we strategically picked and involved, whether it was for investment or typically it was always for investment plus advisory, to ensure that we could pull knowledge from all of the popular projects that are out there, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, what can be improved on, and culminating all of that into our own efforts, right? So that's
Gotcha.
That's the benefit of everybody that you just mentioned on that list.
Okay. And we're getting to the final set of questions, which are, oh man, these are some bangers. These are from Flaxy. Question 1, will there be any possibility or way from a really hardcore MMO grinder to be able to farm so much and so hard that you can take over the whole currency?
Razio?
No, that's not going to be possible.
Okay. And as a follow...
But being an old classic vanilla WoW, server first raider through many expansions, I want there to be grind for us. Like I play Tarkov in League now, and I love grind, and I know that a lot of people do love grind. So we want to have that for people, but no, you can't take over the world.
Gotcha.
You can try, and maybe somewhat succeed, but no.
Yeah, and his follow-up to that would be, do you have any security measures for no-life grinders who would try to take over the economy?
How's it go?
Yeah, that's part of the simulator, doing mostly the division of labor, where you really need to start harnessing the labor of others to be able to take over the world. So taking over the world will mean you probably need to take over the world, you and 60% of the community.
All right. Awesome. Well, hey, if the community doesn't have any more instant bangers, then that basically wraps up the community question portion of the show. Did you guys as the team want to say anything else before we wrap up?
Just to be sure to jump over to our Discord server. It was I know many of you have already come over and joined us in the CryptoGene server, but we're definitely incredibly active, and we've got Flappy Gene, which has been just super fun lately. I suck at Flappy Gene, but a little Flappy Bird kind of experience. It's just not my skill set, but we'd love to have you all in there, and this was just such a joy. Again, thank you so much to the community. You've been incredibly engaged. Thank you for everybody who joined me in the AMA chat, and really just impressed with the community.
Yeah, this was an awesome opportunity. Thank you for letting us come and talk to everybody. The questions were indeed bangers. I really appreciate that. It makes us dig deep and really have to, get it out there. So I thank you for that.
Absolutely. And before we send you all off, I always traditionally will offer the opportunity for the visiting team to pick at least 3 of our winners, because we will give $100 worth of crypto away during this show to 5 users who asked banger questions. So if you guys can navigate over to the pins, if you guys can, yep.
so many good ones.
There are so many good ones, but we do have some repeat offenders, as we usually do. So feel free to take a look at the pinned messages if you will visit the little push pin section of this particular chat room that this text chat occurred in. And that should give you a very solid list of the questions that you can scroll through. And any user whose questions are pinned, even if I didn't get to them or we covered it early, those questions are also eligible.
So I can't see unfortunately I can't see the questions at the moment. That's of my own fault. But whoever, if Evan or Juliet or whoever can help me, whoever teed up that question about involvement with the sciences, and I mean that was almost too perfectly teed up for us.
I believe that was Solidium.
I would like that person to be one of those individuals. That was such an excellent question.
All right, you got it. Solidium is our first winner.
Roscoe, do you have anybody that stood out to you?
Yeah, the one that caused the last question about how we're going to solve all the monetary issues and market pressures.
Oh,
Very nice.
Okay.
And I'll let Juliet.
That would be Zek. So Solidium and Zek are our first winners.
Yeah, Zek was awesome in the chat. Oh, are you tossing to me, Evan, so I can choose?
Yeah, I'm mobile. All of the questions are good. I would award everybody. I'm not the guy.
I know. They're so
Welcome
good.
to my world, you guys.
Right? It's so tough. Oh my gosh. Okay, is it Sergeant 13B?
He is an option. You may choose Sarge.
Great. Hey! Yeah, 13B was my friend in the chat. So seriously, quick shout outs to Fishtivity and Wolf MVP and Sai, who I know is a mod, but I'm so floored with your community and how engaged they are. So just seriously, from a marketing community management standpoint, I'm just so impressed. We
appreciate that. We pride ourselves on this community. This is a fucking awesome community.
They are. They are.
I will say it hasn't been a very long AMA road for us, but so far since we were pretty new, but this was the most engaging community that I have had the pleasure of interacting with to date. Amazing questions, amazing feedback. I just appreciate this community very much. Thank you for being a part of CryptoGene and having the interest to ask all these important questions.
Absolutely. That is what we do. We love to do it. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And with that, for now, that concludes this edition of Ask Us Anything with the Wolves of Wall Street. My name is Nexus. I have been your host. Our guests were Curside, Evan, Roscoe, Juliet, and Henry Mancini from Team CryptoGene, a very interesting NFT project that is up and coming and will see a mint, hopefully, at the end of February.
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Wait, are we off air?
We are about to be going off air very shortly.
Thank you, Nexus, for being a great host, by the way.
Yes, thank you, Nexus.
Absolutely, guys. It was my pleasure.